Welcome back. Episode 2, Over the Borderline with Dave.
And Megan.
So we decided this episode's going to be Megan's story. So I'm going to try and not interject too much, although it's going to be tricky. But we're going to let Megan tell you how, kind of from the time I left until now, kind of what that journey's been. So Megan,
Yeah.
take it away.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. So we'll start 2016. So I was a senior in high school, 2016 to 2017, graduated in 2017. I believe it was around 2016, yeah, where dad was forced to leave our house. We lived in Dallas, and yeah, he was forced to leave the house. Um, and from
Day
there
before Thanksgiving. So
That's right.
I left a $1 million house with a pool and a hot tub and a gated fence, and I spent the next month living in La Quinta.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving and Christmas were amazing.
so awesome. I mean, maybe
I
better
would
than
rather
your
be
other Christmases.
I would rather be anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about holidays one day soon. But so dad had left, and from there, it was hard, of course, to hold a relationship with him because um, when you're with someone with borderline and they decide that this person is bad, they don't let anyone else have a different opinion. And it was easier for me. Yeah, it was easier for me to just go that route and take care of my sister because my sister was still super, super young. We're 5 years apart. I was like 16, just turning 17. I was a year younger than everybody else in my grade. So Claire was like 11 and 12, very young. So staying home, and from there, I went to Texas A&M for college. Reason I went there was because it was close, like, close, but not too close, like 3.5 hours, 3 hours if you push it. Um, so I could come home
Important
if
to note
needed.
that I missed Megan's prom, missed Megan's graduation, missed the picking of the college, all those things. So that was not
Yeah.
great.
Well, they weren't that fun anyways, but so I went to A&M. My ex-boyfriend from high school was also going to A&M, and so it was just an easy thing that we were going together, and a lot of people from my high school were going. It was pretty cheap, um, and I could come home at a moment's notice. But also, I would have 3 hours warning if my mom just decided to come down. So it's a decent amount of time. So I went to college. Um, Was there from 2017 to 2020. My last semester was actually when COVID hit. It was a pandemic. I was just turned 20 at the time, so I was a year younger, and then I graduated a year early too. And college was fine. I got really good grades, of course. I found the people that I wanted to find. Um, but every other day I would get a phone call that would bring me to tears, because of I did, something I didn't do. My whole first month of college was spent just, like, sick and depressed. I got on Prozac immediately then because I couldn't even get myself out of my dorm bed. Um, but it's funny, it wasn't that I had depression in my mom's eyes. She convinced us, well, didn't really convince me, but her diagnosis was PMDD. which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's a real thing, like, people have it, but I didn't.
Well, but she also said I didn't have that thing your mother diagnosed me with. It's PMDD, and Megan has it too.
Yeah, she said that the way she acted was just from PMDD, we're like, "You're a bitch all year round, not just the week before your period," so, we don't really know if that's real, but she basically told the gynecologist that she has this, so I have this, and, like, doctor's office visits, it wasn't, like, me talking, it was her talking, um, and so I got on Prozac from there, but then I convinced her that I still wasn't feeling good and got on more Prozac from there. Um,
Just you up the amount.
and for PMDD, you only take it, like, the 10 days before your
Yeah.
period, and I don't even really know if that's a good thing because, like, we going on Prozac, going off Prozac, even if it's a small dosage, it's just, like, it has to be in your system for a while to work, so I don't really understand how that works, but yeah. So, found my people, it was fine. It was driving home every other weekend to be with Claire, um, and there was just a lot of sadness. What are you looking at?
Seeing how much battery you got on the computer there.
Yeah. So, just a lot going on. But my my senior year of college, 2020, I remember I went on spring break with my other boyfriend at the time, also an ex-boyfriend. We went to Chicago. We were there, and, COVID was heard about in the news. His mom was like, "Make sure you're washing your hands consistently, like, not touching things on, the metro and then touching your face and all that." And then the day that we flew back from Chicago, COVID was a pandemic, a global pandemic. And so we came back to A&M, and it was, like, insane. It was insane. Um, and that whole situation is just actually funny because my mom, of course, had an issue with my ex-boyfriend, um, really for no reason. He was a great guy. We broke up for other reasons, but she was convinced that he was, like, again, trying to take me away from her, though.
Yeah.
So anyone who does that, she doesn't like them.
Yeah.
So any boyfriend, literally any boyfriend I've ever had, any friend I've ever had, any family that tried to, like, take me in, she doesn't like them. So back in college section, I would love to stay in my college house for COVID. I mean, I still have school, I still have classes, they're just online, but there was no way that was gonna happen. So I convinced somehow to stay for, like, a couple weeks, and then it was like, "You have to come home. You have to come home, or you're never coming back home." I was like, "Well, I can't leave Claire
Mhm.
at so I'm packing up." So I packed up all my stuff, um, and then I think I went to A&M, like, one more time after that, to get grad photos, to hang out with my ex-boyfriend, and to pack up all my stuff. So then I was back at home, and I was in therapy the other day, and that period of time, like, lockdown, is like hell. It was the worst time of my entire life. Yeah, people, like, romanticize on TikTok, they're like, "I wish we could go back to lockdown days." Other people got to, like, sleep in and work out and try new recipes and learn a skill. I spent every day walking on eggshells, and my mom's drinking got really, really bad. I mean, it was always bad, but it was really bad. Um, and there were so many nights where I was just not in the house. She'd be like, "Leave." leave. Sometime I would have my car keys and I would drive. Sometimes I would just walk around the neighborhood, and then Claire would unlock the front door, um, but my mom would set the alarm, so I had to, come in and unset the alarm really quickly, because if you wake her up, it's like a you never wanna do that.
If
But
you
of
could
course she
interrupt.
if you could, because she was probably in a alcohol coma, but she never expected me to, like, leave. She always knew I would be at home. She would tell me to get out. She would take my keys. One time I was out without shoes, but she would always expect me to be there in the morning. And then in the morning, noth it's like nothing happened,
Can I make you breakfast?
literally. But at that point, she wasn't cooking,
Oh, really?
and we weren't allowed to cook either. I remember one specific time uh I don't know how to use almond butter correctly, right? So you have a jar of almond butter, you're supposed to put the knife in, apparently get one big scoop because you're supposed to just know how much almond butter you want and put it on the toast. If I put the knife of the almond butter on the toast and put it back in the thing to get almond butter out, I would be cross-contaminating with crumbs.
Right.
Not like she used the almond butter. It was just that I wasn't using it correctly.
Yeah.
Um, so there'd be nights
We
where
all live in fear of putting sour cream away, because I don't know if you guys know it, but there's a way to smooth out perfectly the top of sour cream if it's found that that's in the refrigerator without being perfect, where a little of the sour cream juice gets on top, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed. Um, so yeah, we weren't eating some stuff. Some nights she would be able to cook. Some night like, if she wouldn't cook, we wouldn't eat. Me and Claire would have chips with cheese microwaved for most nights. That's what we would have for dinner because that was the one thing we could put on a paper plate and throw away. Um, and the house was a disaster. She, wouldn't do dishes, so they would just pile up, pile up,
Every
pile up,
surface covered with dishes, the oven, everything,
just
dirty dishes.
disgusting,
And
disgusting.
no
But
one was allowed to do the dishes because we didn't do them right.
but she wouldn't do them herself. So we were living in a pigsty, but we would like the kitchen was a pigsty, but we were forced to every day we would have chores. Like it's the pandemic. Go clean the baseboards. Okay. Um, so that's just a little sneak peek of COVID. Horrible, horrible time. So I'm graduated with a psychology degree. I'm like, I would one day I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna become a therapist. That's my dream. But I didn't have the time or the money to do it then. And now I need to do my own therapy first. But I was like, I need to make money as quick as possible. And I can't I can't stay in Austin. We were in Austin and I can't stay here. I was like, I need to get a job somewhere else. And my boyfriend at the time was um, going to work at one of those like big four accounting firms in Dallas. And we were dating for a decent time. Um, and it was someone I could rely on with all of this going on. So I was like, I'm going to go find a job in Dallas. And that was what started it, right? It was even just me, like, looking for a job in Dallas that was an issue. She couldn't understand why I just couldn't get a job in Austin. She was like, "Why don't you just live at home?" Like, no.
Yeah.
And it's you as the older sibling, you're in the place where you're like, "Do I save myself knowing that I'm leaving my younger sister at home, or do I try to stay home and fight for us while we're there?" and I was at the point where I've done all the fighting I could in the house. Nothing was happening. I needed to get out. Claire was sophomore year, junior year. Um, I was like, "She will get out
Yeah.
eventually. She will get out eventually. We will get her eventually, but for now, I have to do this." And I wasn't, like, going to Dallas being like, "I'm gonna never talk to my mom again," but this was my separation. So, July 2020, thank God they didn't push my start date because of COVID, that was a big fear. I moved to Dallas, and it's crazy. My mom actually drove the U-Haul behind me the whole time. Um, I don't know how I convinced her to do that, but packing up the U-Haul, horrible, horrible. Like, she's so drunk. She's, like, happy, she's sad. I don't know how to do it myself. Like, I can't pack up a U-Haul with all of my stuff myself. Like, I need her help. We can't hire anybody because it's COVID. So,
Mm.
luckily, we pushed through it, and it was, like, July 3rd. I remember it was, like, July 4th was the day after, or maybe it was the day we moved, but anyways, I moved into a studio in Dallas, and my boyfriend at the time came and helped us as well, um, because we can't bring furniture up to my 4th floor apartment. We had, of course, elevators and stuff, but you had to walk through the pool, walk through there, get the elevator, and go up. So we're packing up. Um, it's a beautiful apartment. The rent was so low, again, because of COVID. You would never be able to get that nice of an apartment for as cheap as I got it. And thank God, because I was making 45K a year, so it's really not enough, but it was way more money than I ever had before,
Yeah.
because all of my money was under watch. If I My mom had access to every single account, all of my email accounts she had access to, my debit account. I had a credit card that my dad paid for because he helped me during college. He paid for everything, paid for my groceries, paid for my rent. Like, my mom didn't pay for anything. My dad paid for everything. And she would take advantage of that and be like, "Put this on your credit card so that your dad will pay for it." And I wouldn't do that, of course. Like, that was the one connection that I had to him in college. It's hard to think about
Yeah.
because I wish I could have had him during that time period, but I have him now, and Claire has him now, so that's important. But so I get to Dallas, and that's when the shitstorm starts. So we're there. Um, we pack everything out, and, moving is just horrible to begin with, and people get in fights anyways, moving, but
People who love
especially
each
when you
other.
people yeah, like, everyone gets in fights when they're moving, like, there's a lot of issues when moving, but especially when I'm my mom's person and I'm leaving her, like, legitimately.
Yeah, and I think, when we get into the whole borderline thing, because I've got all the textbooks. If I'm looking over there, I'm looking at the stack of textbooks, but the the underlying thing with borderline is a fear of abandonment, even though all they do is try and push the people who love them away nonstop. It's when we keep showing up the next morning that just repeats the cycle. But when anything good would happen to us, Megan talked about her boyfriends or graduation or, I'd get a promotion or something like that. Those things somehow turned into threatening. You're more likely to leave me. So imagine your oldest daughter really moving away. Not good.
Yeah. Yeah, and my mom had different relationships with me and Claire, but, there was just a relationship with me and my mom that I think she, like, we look very similar. We look very much alike. We have the same body types, until she got a boob job and lost it, but
Yeah.
Anyways,
For all the women
I
out there,
think
don't do it.
well, just, like, don't drink 3 bottles of wine a day, and maybe that will, like, balance it out.
Okay.
Yeah, or
That's
something
my
like
only
that.
frame of reference.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm in Dallas, we're packing, everything's unpacked, finally. It's, like, a gorgeous apartment, and, of course, my boyfriend is going to stay with me because we're adults, and we've been together for, like, a year, and he came down to help us unpack with my mom, who he is, like, incredibly scared of, like, everybody is scared of her, like and it's hard. Someone who cares about me hates her because they see firsthand what she can do to someone who's pretty confident, pretty outgoing, smart, and she could just shut me down.
Yeah.
And so all of my boyfriends have obviously not liked her. My girlfriends are a little bit more like they understand where I am in, but the boyfriends, they just can't really understand. So, of course, he's staying with me and just moved. So, we're taking a nap. I wake up from this nap and I have like 10 missed calls and a bunch of texts from my mom saying basically, I can't believe you took advantage of me and your sister, moving you there, and now you're just taking a nap. I'm like, yeah, you guys are driving back to Austin. Like, what else am I supposed to be doing? She's like, and your boyfriend is there? Yeah. I have a full-time job. I live
I'm an
alone,
adult,
like an
kinda.
adult, an adult. Like I'm like, yes. Uh-huh. What else would I be doing right now? And from there, she just took that and ran with it. And Claire is Snapchat messaging me. Me and Claire only communicated via Snapchat message because first of all, my mom didn't understand how Snapchat worked, and Snapchat messages, like, disappear immediately. So we would only use Snapchat to communicate, and I, like, called her, and it was this whole thing. So backstory is I had this cute little VW Bug, and this new job that I was working was gonna give me a company car. They weren't gonna give me a company car until, like, 2 weeks because I didn't start for, like, another week, and then they have to give it to me and all that stuff. So I wasn't gonna get it for, like, 2 weeks, but my mom had already sold my Bug. She already sold it. So I didn't have a car in Dallas where I'm living alone. So what she did was rent a car for me because 'cause I'm 20, I can't rent a car. She rented a car for me and was like, "It's fine. You have this car." So from here, Claire's like, "Mom is calling the cops, telling them that you stole her rental car, and they'll come arrest you. You need to go return it, like, ASAP." Basically, Claire was like, "This is, like, the last thing I can tell you." Like, she's freaking the fuck out, like, "I don't know how much we're gonna be able to talk, but, like, you need to go do this now." So I'm like, "Gotta go do it." So she's calling the cops, and we drive to left field and return the car. Um, backsto Another little tidbit was I don't know how rental car
Yeah.
things work. So, yes, I drove with the spikes and I popped all 4 tires, but that's besides the point. I was
I
in
mean,
a time of panic. I was in a time of panic, and so we get back, like, the car's returned, like, I fucked it up, but they're gonna call me later about that. So they call me eventually later about that. So we figured that out. Cops don't come. We're like, "We're just gonna take this night and figure out what we can do from there." Next morning, I wake up and I open my debit account, and all my money is gone. She took all my money. I worked all of college. All of my money was gone. Like, all of the money I saved was completely gone. And I had no money, and I was in Dallas by myself. My boyfriend didn't even live there at the time, so, like, I was literally by myself when he left. I was already planning on calling my dad as soon as I got to Dallas because I was finally for enough far enough away where I could do that without her knowing, and she couldn't, like, take my phone and check it. She would take my phone, like, as a 20-year-old during COVID, like, take my phone, take away my, like, only communication to people outside. She'd love to take things away, and I'm like, "I gotta call my dad. I had to call my dad." It was not the ideal situation. I wouldn't wanna be like, "Hey, dad, I have no money."
Mhm.
Uh, I wanted to call with a little bit of better news, but called him, left a voicemail. I didn't think he knew. I think he thought it was a prank call or something, um, and then he called back, and from there, we've been together ever since. Sent me some money, was like, 'cause I didn't have anything. I didn't have food, I didn't have toilet paper, I didn't have anything. So, went and got all that stuff with now with my best friend, 'cause my boyfriend had to leave, so another person came in, um, and I also didn't have a car, so someone else needed to do all that stuff for me. Um, and I could keep going
I
forever,
think this is
but
a good point for, you know, if 3 people listen to this, it might be dads who have lost their kids. And when I didn't have the girls, I mean, this was what? It was 2016 and now it's 2020. And I think I saw you a couple times and before you went to college and then nothing. Um, Everyone always says they'll come back. They'll come back. It's, hang in there, they'll come back. And it's great for people to say, I was in therapy and therapy said, the therapist said, just always send them messages, just always, just text. Even if they don't respond, maybe they're getting unless their mom has the phone, but just say you'll be there if I need you. And so the call came and could have been 10 years. It was that long and hell yeah, I got there as soon as I could. Um, so it was, I remember a handful of dates in my life, but July 5th, 2020 is certainly one of them where I got Megan back.
yeah, yeah, it was a very wild couple months. Um,
And I just think, some of the behaviors, the car thing, since I kinda took over helping Megan, the car rental place charges you something to fix the tires. We're gonna talk a little bit more around here, more Amy behavior, when Megan left her. But one of the things she did, and I was able to catch her on, is she forged the damage estimate,
she did,
to say
for like $1,000 more,
yeah, yeah, because
and it was so cheap.
yeah, it really was surprisingly low, but I was able to call the company and said, I can't read this version you sent. Can you send me the" 'cause she's a brilliant forger, as I learned during the divorce process.
Or she went to jail for that.
Yeah,
So,
3 felony,
if anyone can find her mugshot, we'll give you a shout out.
just any of the 3 mugshots. But that's the behavior and, talk more about the suing that she did of you, Megan.
Yeah, so from there, of course, she knew that I was back with that, um, and that pissed her off, of course. So the next thing was, what can I do now? Um, so she filed a civil lawsuit against me and was suing me for pretty much everything in my apartment, and she, like, added everything up, and it equaled, like, so much more money than it actually was,
It's like $2,500 or something like that.
which is so stupid. She was like, "I loaned you those silverware, the Target silverware. You need to give them back, or you need to pay me for them." And she's like, "I did loan you them." And I'm like, "No, you gave them to me. It was a gift." Um, so she is suing me. So then I was like, "You know what? If you wanna come get some stuff, come get some stuff." So I pack up some of the stuff. My best friend and my boyfriend at the time are there because I cannot do that alone. I actually tell the front desk of my apartment what's going on as well, just to make sure that they're aware, and I pack up boxes, give them to her, and she's like, "No, I need to come into the apartment. I need to come into the apartment. I need to grab more stuff." She's like, "Go in." I'm like, "Literally take whatever you want. Like, I don't even want this stuff. Like, this is your stuff. I don't even want it. Take it." Takes, like, my graduation gift, takes, like, pairs of shoes, takes,
Toilet
like,
paper,
toilet
shower
paper that
curtains.
dad bought, um, like, not even stuff that she bought, um, and then she wouldn't leave. So then I get to call the cops. So 2 police
Okay, I
officers
forgot
come.
about that.
Yeah, 2 police officers come up to my apartment, and she's just, like, in shock that I called the cops because I'm in therapy now. I'm with, therapist Jenny that my dad was with for pretty much the entire time that he was in Seattle, um, and it was so nice because she knew my story immediately, and we could just plug in because I needed to figure out how to put up boundaries and how to talk. So it was like, don't talk with emotion, like, be very straightforward, um, and then if she tries to take it to the next level, like, diffuse. And we couldn't get her out. I mean, nobody's gonna put hands on her because she will call the cops on us. So we're like, "We're not gonna put hands on you, but you need to leave." 2 cops come into my apartment, and it's so funny. They actually, like, they fucked with her. They were like, she was like, "I'm suing her. I'm suing," and they were like, "You're suing your daughter? For what?" She was like, "All this stuff here." They're like, "What would you do with this stuff otherwise?" Like, it was so funny. I think they were just, like, having a down day and just
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
poke and prod her, and they could see how upset I was. I mean, my boyfriend was upset, my best friend was upset, the people downstairs were like, "What's going on?" as well, um, and they were like, "If you ever step foot on this property again, we'll arrest you." And they wrote all of her stuff down, and she's already a convicted felon,
Yeah.
so she's I think she was on probation, like, she should have gotten arrested there. Was she?
No, I don't think it had come. I don't think that
That far?
came up, because I was back with Claire when I got this year, say guilty
Mhm.
in her,
Right,
her
right, right,
felony
right.
thing. So that was
So,
next year.
'cause COVID, like, delayed all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sued me. I had to then call the cops, and then from there, I had to create new emails. She was in all my emails. I had to She would hack into my credit card. Like, I would see charges on my credit card. I called Discover, like, once a week, getting a new credit card because of she she knew all my info, like my social, my birthday, my, like, passwords that I always use, um, and she was very smart like that, and she would just continually do it, but I was getting smarter too, and I knew how to stop all of the stuff she was doing. She eventually blocked on everything except for email, and notifications were turned off from email because we decided I'm only going to look at the emails when I want to versus they're not just going to come out of nowhere. Um, and she really did take that lawsuit. I had to go to court for it. Um, it never actually got resolved. It got thrown out when she died. Um, but I wish I could have seen it got thrown out in real court.
Well, it was interesting because I was gonna, I had learned just we were dealing with so much with her. It was easier. I was just going to pay it. Um, and when Whitney, who I hope comes on, my lawyer through all this, her husband's also a lawyer who never billed us for it. So he did this dealing for free, which I super appreciate. he said, "Mr. we're willing to pay for the thing, and I assume that means you'll cancel whatever the right words are, cancel the lawsuit." She goes, "I can't do that. I can't do that." He's like, "Nope, we're gonna pay the amount." She's like, "I won't cancel the law." So I'm like, at that point, it's like, "Fuck it, let's
Yeah,
fight it." Um,
let's fight it. Let's get a jury in there.
well, I was trying to pull it up on my phone, but it was stuff like, "You scuffed my shoes you wore to junior prom,
My god, you're right.
$40." So it was a
Her
long
Steve Madden shoes, like like from circa 2012.
that we got with my DSW discount.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So,
and I could keep going, but
yeah, I mean, we've gone 35 minutes. That's probably a good,
yeah.
and so, I've got Megan back in my life and, now Claire, we'll get to Claire's story. Won't, or, maybe she'll tell it at some point if she wants to, because it's her story to tell. But she's, poor Claire's now at home with crazy Amy and she's the sole survivor. But as Claire will say, she learned how to manage Amy. She, you know, at this point, Claire's 15 years old and she's basically driving herself because Amy's drunk by 3 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, so Megan and I just picked back up, it wasn't COVID. I had an apartment in LA living in Seattle. So I had her fly out the night. I had an apartment that I got right before COVID. So I stayed like 3 nights in it. Um, drove, I flew Megan out to LA, and that was the first time we saw each other. It's just been by phone. And so we had an amazing trip drove up the coast to Seattle.
Yeah.
Just super fun. And that's just, again, to the parents out there who knew what kind of relationship you had, knew what kind of parent you were. I didn't know when they go radio silent, um, what they're feeling. Because I did, to Megan's point of she had to choose to save herself or to save Claire, I had to choose at some point to, and everyone gives you credit. Well, you had to get healthy first, but we'll talk about my story during that period in another one, but it was, n I'm a dad first, if anything, and Amy Sims knew how to hurt me. Um, so the good news is that, July 5th, 2020, our life together started back up again and been amazing ever since.
Mhm.
I think that's good for today.
That's good for today.
Episode 2.
Done.
Hope y'all listen when we post this.
Yeah, when we do, when I edit it.
Yeah,
I have a
editor.
new computer now though, so
Okay.
I'll be actually able to do it.
Okay. All right. Good job.
Bye.
Good telling.